Now, when I was told that I get to come and speak to, girls about engineering, I got all jazzed up because I love being an engineer, and I want to share with you why it's important to the world, why it's important to you, and how it's really going to change your life the way it changed mine. So before I get started, I do want to thank Marco for his leadership in bringing all of you together, because events like these don't just happen magically. It takes a lot of foresight. It takes somebody that can implement it and someone that can bring all of you together, because when young people like you don't see people that look like you in careers, you can't be what you can't see, right? And I think that is one of the biggest barriers for women and us trying to attract them into engineering. So Marco, thank you so much for making this possible. So in my own life, I came to this country when I was 7 years old. I'm an immigrant, came here from India. My father's a mechanical engineer, so I had a role model as an engineer. But I know oftentimes we don't necessarily have that opportunity. And so that's why, again, events like these are important, where you bring people that are in these fields that are probably underrepresented. So because I had my dad in engineering, I, at a very early age, I, had that influence and why it's important. And so I will tell you, when I came here, I didn't know a word of English. So I learned English while I was in public schools. I went on to go to civil engineering, graduated from that. While I was there, I also relied on Pell Grants in order for me to get through college. So when I graduated from engineering, I will say the reason why I went into public service is because of three things. I'm a product of public schools. I'm a product of a public university. I'm a product of Pell Grants, which is money that taxpayers have invested in your future, in my future in this case. And that's the reason why I was able to graduate in engineering. So I'm a product of public investment. So I knew soon after graduating that I wanted to go into public service. So my first job, well, let me backtrack. My job that I got while going through engineering, look, ladies, I will tell you, you're gonna walk through life and you're gonna walk into rooms and spaces that don't look like you. It's not a sign that you're not meant to be there. It's a force telling you you have to be there. Your presence is needed to complete that room, to complete that space. Because you being there, you get to be a voice for those that can't be in that room with you. Those that are gonna come after you, right? So you get to empower others. You get to take that space and make it bigger so people that come after you don't feel uncomfortable about walking into those rooms and those spaces. So that's important to know that. And so when I was in college, I remember you get a lot of internships, right? And this one particular occasion, I got somebody gave me a business card. And this, I was studying in Missouri, okay, in the Midwest. This individual was from Hawaii, and I got his business card, and I got it in my mind, I'm gonna go do an internship in Hawaii. All my friends laughed me out of the room. They're like, you'll never get there. Are you kidding me? Who would want somebody from Missouri all the way in Hawaii? That was enough to get me started. I was like, I'm not gonna take no for an answer. I'm gonna do everything I can that to make sure I get this internship, right? I mean, how cool is that to go to Hawaii? And let me tell you, I got on the phone and he told me immediately, look, we don't normally take people all the way from the Midwest. We typically like to hire within California, within our area, in Hawaii. And I said, no, but you gotta understand, I'm really good, I can do this. And I went on and on explaining to him. He was like, well, thanks very much, and he hung up. Well, you know what? I called him again and again and again, And you know what he said to me? He said, look, I've never met a young person that is so persistent about trying to get a job. For that reason alone, I'm gonna offer you the internship, right? So I got to go to Hawaii as part of my internship in Honolulu, Hawaii. I was there all summer long. And it had to be one of the most exciting jobs I ever had. I mean, you can just imagine just being there, right? On one particular occasion, as a civil engineer, we have to do what's called geotechnical research. Anytime a building or structure grows up anywhere, you gotta make sure the foundation below is a stable environment for which it needs to stand. So we took soil samples and we had to figure out, making sure that this building can be erected at this particular site. And on this particular occasion, we went onto a mountain, kind of, and when we got there, the truck that we went there with, the gas ran out. So we were stuck on top of this mountain until they could radio another truck to come. This is way before cell phones, ladies, so there was no cell phones back then, okay? So it was great because a guy climbed up a coconut tree, knocked down a coconut, hacked it off, and we sat there drinking, coconut juice while we were waiting for the other truck to show up. But, I'm sharing that story with you because it does offer great opportunities in engineering. More importantly, that story that I'm sharing with you is to reflect, never take no for an answer. There's lots of people in that world that are gonna tell you, oh, you're a girl, oh, you can't do this, nah. That's just not gonna happen. Anytime someone tells you that, that means you double down, you triple down, whatever you need to do, and you fight like heck to make sure it happens. Because really the power lies within you. So after I graduated from my degree in civil engineering, my first job out was in Los Angeles, California, right? And it was awesome being there because I got to be a traffic engineer for an area in LA County Public Works, in the LA County area. And the area that they signed to me was Malibu, California. Right, can you imagine that? So, it was awesome to go there and to really talk with community people about how every little thing related to transportation affects people's lives, right? From putting up a stop sign to making sure that we have a sidewalk or a bike path, all these elements of the infrastructure play such a huge role in communities' lives. And I will say, look, I'm a transportation engineer, that's my background, and I believe that transportation is an instrument of freedom, right? Because it's the way we connect with the world. It's how all of you get to your schools. It's how your families get to their places of worship. It's how you meet with family members and friends. I mean, you gotta get either on your foot, on your bicycle, on a transit bus, on a car, whatever it may be, or on an airplane even, right? In order to get where we need to. So I find this to be very gratifying to be in this field. And I spent 25 years as a transportation engineer. I moved out to Maryland about over 30 years ago. And I worked as an engineer for a local Department of Transportation. And it was really cool to be there because, again, you're working on projects, you get to be out in the field at construction sites, right? With all the guys and their hard hats, and all of a sudden you show up on the construction site and they're kind of sizing you up like, are you supposed to be here? I'm like, yes, as a matter of fact, I am. I'm the project engineer for this. Right? And it's great to be there because you get to really see things happen from when it's just a concept to drawing it on, the computer to actually being out in the field and seeing it build. That's what I love most about being a civil engineer. It's not a job that just keeps you in an office, on a computer, and very little interaction with other individuals. It's a job that you really get to be out there in the community. Anytime we built any infrastructure, we had to meet with the community. We had to get their buy-in. Look, nothing ever happens in a silo, no matter what we do in life. right? So we would be in front of communities like, as in the number that are in this room. And no matter what that project is, whether we were building a huge highway or we were building something as small as a sidewalk or a bike path, people really care about how you're impacting the front of their lawn, the side of their yard, their community. It all ties in. So there's a lot of public engagement in the process, and I particularly love that because I think when you bring more diverse voices to the table, you have a much better product that you're gonna build. If you just have a couple of, engineers sitting in an office designing some, particular project, that's not the way it works. You gotta get the community's input into it. And what's so great is when you do build that roadway or that bridge or that sidewalk, capital projects are usually pretty permanent. That means they're there for 30, 50 years. And guess what? You had a part in making that happen. So it's so gratifying to go back, to drive by, to walk on the projects that I worked on. And you see, wow, this is out here, and look how many people are using it. This is so great that I was a part of this, right? So that's what engineering is. It really is an opportunity to take the problems we have and come up with solutions that really best suit the community. And engineering is such a broad field. I mean, my goodness, I'm a civil engineer, but then you have electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, aerospace engineers. I mean, the field is so vast. It is so big. As big as it is, there isn't enough females in these fields. And that's where every one of you get to make a difference. Look, let me ask you all a question. How many of you would like to change the world? Love it. Right? Every one of you should have raised your hand, but I'm glad for the ones that did. And changing the world comes right through engineering. Oh my goodness. Engineers are innovators. Engineers are ones that come up with the latest gizmos and technology and solutions. And here we are right now, we have so many challenges ahead of us, including climate change, we have healthcare, we have transportation, we have education, you name it, engineering touches every field that you're gonna get into. Now, I know that oftentimes, fields that are in arts and humanities, they seem more tangible, and I understand that. They are, right? It's easier to understand those fields than mathematics and formulas and whatnot. But please know, all those formulas and mathematics come down to being able to come up with the solutions of the 21st century. And you can really change the world in your own way by getting into fields like this. Let me just share with you a couple of things that I've learned in life. Whatever skill sets you have right now, take that and use it as a launching pad to wherever you need to go. But know that what got you here isn't gonna get you there. Now, what do I mean by that? That means each of you have your own talents and skills, but guess what? You're gonna need to expand that quite a bit in order to really change the world. So that means that changing the world is not about, it's about stepping out of our comfort zone as much as we possibly can. It's about saying yes when you wanna say no. Have you ever gotten invitations to go somewhere and you're like, oh no, I really don't want to go. I don't want to put myself in that situation. That's awkward, I'll find something else to do. I'm telling you, say yes, because when you say yes, chances are that moment is going to lead you to something, to someone that will set you up for where you need to be in the future, right? I cannot tell you how many times in my life, my response in my head was to say, no, I don't want to go there. And then I forced myself and I went there and I met someone who gave me their business card. Or I met someone later on, 5 years down the line, that I'm like, oh, okay, I get it why I was supposed to meet that person, because they led me to meet another person and another person that gave me this opportunity to be here. So as much as we call that networking, see it as social capital. Every time you say yes, you're expanding your world. Every time you step out of your comfort zone, you're expanding your world. And that's how you change the world. You don't change it by being exactly where you are right now and not, trying to grow your skill sets as much as you can. Another thing I'm going to tell all of you that's really important, and something that holds both men and women back in their careers: public speaking. How many of you enjoy public speaking? Oh, that's great. So we got a few here. Usually like one hand will go up in the room. So look, for all the other hands that didn't go up, you're not alone. In fact, when Americans were surveyed, what is their biggest fears in life? They said dying and public speaking. Next question that was asked is, of these two, what is your biggest fear? You know what they said? Public speaking. So let me just paint a picture for you for a second. That means if an American is at a funeral, they would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. That's how petrified we are of public speaking. And I am one of them too. Very, very scared of public speaking. And I took classes after classes after classes and practiced as best I could. And to this day, I'm still nervous about public speaking. I don't go anywhere and feel like, hey, I'm just gonna walk right in and do a great job. Look, most people are uncomfortable with that, but it's a skill set that you need to know. Because if you don't know it, it's gonna hold you back so much, right? So many people avoid taking on opportunities because there's that possibility of public speaking associated with it. So how do you solve that? One of the biggest tips that was given to me, but it was at a much later part of my life, but you all are young enough to get it, is if there's an opportunity for you to take a theater class, take it. Because taking theater will help you to be able to project your voice, to use your body, that it's not just the words you say, it's how you say it. Look at me, right? I'm using my hands all over the place. I don't mean to, but that's how I speak, but it'll actually, teach you how to kind of limit it down. Don't make it so much that it's distracting. And it really is a great way to get over your fear of public speaking. So I would highly encourage all of you to do that. And also, I would say, what I already said before, try to step out of your comfort zone as much as you can. Try to say yes as often as you can. And one other thing that I will leave you with, whatever you do, I hope that you will navigate this world with having compassion and empathy for others. Whether it's engineering or anything that you may get into, look, at the end of the day, our presence in this world is going to be most remarkable if we can begin to understand the pain, the struggles, the challenges other people are going through. Rather than judging them, to really have compassion and empathy for them. That's the lens that I walk through in life, because I learned that early on in life. But I hope that each of you understand that and the significance of public service. Look, I spent my entire adult life being a public servant through engineering, and what engineering also did for me was it's a launching pad to do so many other things. So when you all are fearful about, oh gosh, if I pick this field, I'm gonna spend the rest of my life doing it, but what if I wanna do this and that and this? Guess what? You can do anything that you want to. See engineering as a great launching pad. It gave me critical thinking, how I can analyze situations, be a problem solver, And it really is about teamwork, because everything you do in engineering, you don't do it on your own. You do it with a whole bunch of other team members, and you come up with a product, right? So engineering was a launching pad for me to get into elected office. Now, you all might say, how does that happen? And believe me, as one who was fearful of public speaking, the last thing I wanted to do was get into being an elected official. When somebody first approached me on this, just because I was volunteering, they said, hey, we think you ought to run for public office. And I listened very politely to them, and I said, thank you, that's really kind of you. I'll think about it. I'm like, no thanks, and I hung up. And my husband was like, did you just say no to them? I said, of course I did. Why would I say yes? He said, you love public service. This is another way in which you can expand that role of public service. I said, yeah, but I'm an engineer. I'm not a politician. And so I sat and wrote down all the reasons why I'm not the right person to be running for public office, right? I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, there's nobody that looks like me that's ever been elected in this role, and there's no way people are gonna vote for me, right? You know what happens with men when you approach them and you ask them to run for office? A woman you have to tell 7 times over, they say statistically, to convince them to run for public office, because they make up all the reasons just like I did. You know how many times you have to ask a man to run for office? 0. Because men are already born into this world thinking they're the greatest things since sliced bread, right? And ladies, we gotta think it the same way too. Okay, don't let anybody tell you, especially yourself, that you can't do something. That's something I learned along the way. I was my own worst enemy, telling myself that I couldn't do it. And so I remember when I was with my husband, as I went through the list, and he's like, that's ridiculous, this or that. And he goes, look, why don't you want to run? And I said, because what if I lose? And he said, but what if you win? And that thought never, ever entered my mind, that there was even a possibility of me winning. So you need to change the way you think. Think about yourself as a winner. The words you say to yourself in your mind is what your body hears. Your mind, body, soul hears it. So keep it positive. Say that you're the best person for this job and you're in it for the right reasons. It's not to win for yourself. It's to win for your community. It's to win for people that have never had this opportunity to be asked to run for office. It's to represent other voices that have never had the chance to have a seat at the table. That's what it's about. So I, ended up running, and fortunately for me, I did win. And so that began my path. But, again, public service has played a tremendous role in my life. And at the end of the day, I want you all to remember this. The 2 most important days of your life are the day that you're born and the day you discover why. Your why, when you discover it, is when you discover your gift. And the purpose of life is to give your gift away as much as possible. All of us have a tremendous debt to owe to the people that gave us the opportunities we have today, and you have a debt to owe for the people of the future, that you build a better world for them. So it's going to take you some time to figure out what your why is, but when you do, you're going to find the whole world opens up for you. And it's amazing how you'll be able to change the world in your own unique way. So thank you for having me here today. And
all right, ladies, I think we're gonna do a photo.
So yeah, we're gonna do a quick photo.